All right, good morning. We are live and alive via Zoom, called Calm Community, and also via YouTube today. Hello, YouTube. Hi, everyone. Super happy to be with you all. Let's make sure everything is working, and then we are good to go. Hope you're all doing well, that you're all safe and sound, flourishing and thriving. All right. Good morning, good morning. Seems like everything's working. Thawing in doubt. Well, we're thawing here too, actually, in Tennessee, so thank God for that. Good to hear, Kathy. How's everybody who was at last night's accountability call? Let me know in the chat. Fantastic. Good job, Kate. Good job, Linda. Good, Cheryl. Awesome. Glad you all received it. All right, a few more minutes and I'm going to get started. I'm beyond excited to be with you. Just a reminder, we are live via our regular Zoom call called Calm, and we are also live on YouTube. So smash the bell button, like and subscribe. Hi Jolly, send you my love. All right, so I want to get started. Some of you are still tripping up over a few things. So I just want to kind of provide you a bit of a framework so maybe you stop tripping over these things that are not necessarily limitations or obstacles. The common misconception is that if you live as the soul, you live connected to the truth of who you are, that things aren't going to get done, that all of a sudden you're going to lose your edge, that you're going to stop flourishing, that you are going to retreat into a cave, become a hermit, and no longer deliver into the world what you've come here to offer or share. And I can tell you that the truth is that couldn't be further from the truth at all, even if you tried, because actually living in connection with who you are, recognizing yourself as love, stepping into the totality of the potential that's there, is actually the most dynamic way, the most creative way, the most expressive way to be. So in personal development circles, the last thing they want is for you to remember your enlightenment, for you to remember your oneness, for you to remember the love, because they're afraid of it. And they're afraid of it because they realize that they're an ego competing in a world of egos for a limited market share. And so therefore they can't step into all this oneness stuff and can't step into all this light stuff and collaboration stuff because all of a sudden they'll lose their competitive edge. But you see, what a limited way of looking at life. What an exhausting way of looking at life. And no wonder behind the scenes then life, when it's lived that way, is such a mess. Because the very doctrine that you're preaching on a stage in front of thousands of people is your very downfall. And now, because it's become the prison of your personality, or production has become your prison, you can't escape it. It's what you're known for. So after a while, you have to begin to realize that seeking power, seeking to have a competitive edge, is the ultimate in scarcity. It's not abundance at all. It's not power at all. It's lack personified. Because Nothing in nature is competing with anything else. Everything in nature is existing in a finely balanced ecosystem where life shakes out in the way that it's supposed to, and life moves on in whatever way it's supposed to move on to into its fullest expression. And so most of this 10x peak producing, make it at all costs narrative that we've been, living with has fundamentally and systematically sealed the destruction of that illusion. Because now we're beginning to realize that we can't just keep producing, we can't just keep competing, we can't just keep holding on to some illusion of an edge. The last thing I ever want to do is have an edge over my fellow human beings. I personally would like to have no distance between my heart and the heart of another human being at all, but that's just me, and that's a lifestyle choice. After a while, you begin to realize that you don't need to manufacture solutions at the level of your individuality. That actually you can just wait for the synchronicity. So I'll share a real-world example with you. As many of you know, we had Ice-mageddon, Snow-mageddon, Exploding Tree-mageddon recently in the United States. Most of you are still under the influence of Ice-mageddon, Snow-mageddon, Exploding Tree-mageddon. Didn't tell you about that part, but that's a thing. And the blessing is that, as many of you know, we've been doing a little renovation here. And we absolutely didn't build any of the ancient sacred sites in the world. No way. Based on how long it's taking to get everything done here. But anyway, for some reason, about 5 months ago, we had some old hackberry trees that hadn't been maintained, that hadn't been loved, that hadn't been taken care of, that had to be taken down. Because if they weren't taken down, absolutely, they were going to fall over. So 5 months ago, unbeknownst to us that there was ever going to be Ice-mageddon, Snow-mageddon, Exploding Tree-mageddon, this wonderful young man and his tree service come over and assess the health of the trees. And because we're replanting and re-landscaping, I'm like, listen, if it's not healthy, if it hasn't been well maintained, if it's going to, in the future be any kind of a hazard, let's just take it down. The trees that we can love back to life, let's keep them. So about 5 months ago, all of those trees that were hazards that absolutely would have exploded or come down during this last ice storm, Snow-mageddon, Ice-mageddon, Tree-mageddon, actually were taken down. And so thankfully, they were no longer here to fall on the house or to fall on the neighbor's house or to fall on the cars or to fall into the street. Synchronicity. Then, on Friday before all of this kicked off, and some of you have had it a lot worse. I mean, no power for 2 days. It's been freezing cold temperatures. Your prepper skills have been put to the max, pushed to the max, and also you whipped out all those dry foods that you bought on that infomercial, just in case you thought you'd need to eat those, because that's enough food for at least 50 years. Some of you are well familiar with that prepper infomercial. The powdered food, apparently, that the Navy SEALs use. So anyway, you whipped out everything that you had stored away for just this kind of situation. And thank God you had it. Because you actually, for the first time ever, needed it. Not so much the food, but absolutely an alternative heat source, an alternative place to shelter, potentially navigating power loss and whatever, right? So Friday, thank God, grace of God, synchronicity, an arborist comes over. And not just any arborist, an amazing arborist who loves trees and has a deep knowledge of trees. So on Friday, before Snow-mageddon, Ice-mageddon, Exploding Tree-mageddon, this arborist lovingly removed any of the last remaining deadwood that was inhibiting the future growth of the trees. So basically, by Friday, any kind of obstacle or impediment or exploding tree situation, and for those of you that aren't familiar, the sheer weight of the ice on them, if they're not in good condition, buckles them and they break. Literally, snap in half, trees. And then the power lines go down, and that's why the power goes down. And, of course, why we haven't buried our power lines, I have no idea. But that's for people who are above my pay grade to figure out the answer to that. So, thankfully, by the grace of God, everything gets handled. Now, could anyone have predicted the extent of what was going to happen? No. Was I actively seeking a solution at the level of my ego? No. But there was something within me, some intelligence, some intuition, some guidance that was clearly at work. It's no different than when I sold my house in Naples. When we had Hurricane Irma, for the first time ever, they were talking about a 15-foot storm surge. And when we had Irma, thankfully, we were saved from the 15-foot storm surge. Got all the wind damage, but we didn't get all of that water in the Gulf of Mexico being pushed back on land. Thankfully, managed to sell the house. And then, lo and behold, they have a hurricane, if I'm not mistaken, called Ian. Naples people, let me know. And that hurricane called Ian brought the storm surge. So, I don't believe that we, on an egoic level, with the limited capacity that we have the capacity to engineer solutions. I feel like our soul is running the whole show. The soul is running the whole show. And that things are happening in our lives for our benefit that we don't even know about, like moving or getting trees trimmed or taking down trees that, aren't in the best of health and then replacing them with beautiful, healthy trees. Stuff is happening. But you see, we miss the miracle because we think in some way, shape or form that it has to look a certain way or that it has to feel a certain way. Meanwhile, we miss the point that the synchronicity is the solution. The synchronicity is the solution. The synchronicity is the solution. You couldn't have ever in your life foreseen most of the things that you were going to go through. And yet, in going through most of the things that you've gone through, you can see that there's some grace, there's some intuition, there's some greater unfolding at work in your life in every single instance. So we don't need to have a competitive edge. We have the soul. We don't need to hold on to some pain or suffering or some narrative of pain or suffering in order to produce at a level that's unsustainable. We have the sustainability of the soul. We don't need to continue to bolster our egoic framework. We don't need to continue to have people walk down a path of trying to 10x their lives and just continuing to get wrecked. We know better. We know better because we've experienced it firsthand, that it doesn't bring you any relief from your suffering. So to live soulfully is to be guided. To live soulfully is to be moved. To live soulfully is to have things be taken care of on your behalf in a way that you don't even know that you need them taken care of. Leave me a 1 or yes in the chat if this is landing today. That every single one of you has been advocated on behalf of. That even when you've gone through things, in going through things you've gone through the mild version of it. That you've been moved around, reshuffled, prepared in every way for what's happening without even realizing that you have been. Even to the extent where one winter we didn't drip our pipes and we basically had a couple of pipe bursts, 2 pipes specifically burst for a washer-dryer hookup that I'd forgotten that I even had. And I kid you not, it was literally raining in the meditation room. Oh, like, the kids come running in. Dad, it's raining. Where? in the meditation room. What do you mean it's raining in the meditation room? It's raining in the meditation room. And we think it's coming from Celeste's bedroom. Like, what do you mean it's coming from Celeste's bedroom, right? And so thank God that those pipes burst. Thank God that that happened. Thank God. And thank God that we went through, that I had everybody at the house, family here, that we could dry it up, turn the water off and get those pipes sealed temporarily until we have them removed. So even when it doesn't quite work out in the way that you think it should, your life is giving you a clue. It's like, hey, let's pay attention. Let's take care of this now. Let's be aware of this now. So now I just drip those faucets. Right? But had I not had that experience, how would I know to do that? There's no way, right? So can you see that no matter which way we slice or dice this wonderful blessing that's life, that fundamentally we have been advocated on behalf of, and that we have been supported, and there is not one of you that can say that in some way, shape or form, the presence of grace has not been available to you in your life. Which means that none of you are victims. Which means that you've been freed of the need to try and success your way out of your suffering. Because I'll tell you something, when we had that storm surge in Naples, the homes that got hit the hardest were the homes that were on the beach that are worth tens of millions of dollars. Unbelievable value in real estate ruined. So it didn't matter how much money you had. It didn't matter how well you'd prepared your home. None of it mattered. The soul level option was to take the message of Irma and move. Now, for those people who stayed, they had to go through it. Now they know not to be there when something like that happens. Do you understand? So can you see how there's no wrong move? Can you see how even when you have to go through things like burst pipes, that's like life's way of saying, hey guys, you have a washer and dryer hookup in Celeste's bedroom that you have to drip. Because in the event that you don't drip it, the meditation room is going to turn into the Amazon rainforest. It's going to take on more of a jungle monsoon feel. So maybe we should drip those faucets. Now, I never miss an opportunity to drip the faucets. Maybe I'm a bit like over the top of dripping those faucets, but until I have those pipes removed, I'm going to drip those faucets, right? So synchronicity is the solution. Now, these poor people who are trying to control everything, the synchronicity kicks in, they somehow accidentally align with the synchronicity and they take credit for it. So for example, I didn't move from Naples, Florida. I was moved from Naples, Florida. No part of me could ever take credit for that move. Do you understand the difference? It's all unfolding, it's all happening, it's all playing out. We're all being guided, we're all being supported, we're all being loved. And the synchronicity is the solution. So do you understand that it's not passive? It's so dynamic. It's so dynamic. Why? Because now you're not connected to a limited power source called this identity that has to figure everything out so that you can maintain your edge and out 10x your suffering. The only edge you have is you suffer more than everyone else. No. You can actually flow and surrender to life and be with life and be supported and guided. So you've got to get this point that there is no downside to surrendering to the truth of who you are, this infinite power that dwells within you. Because it's actually that that's doing everything anyway. Also, you've got to recognize that all of this manifestation malarkey is just the ego taking credit for what the soul was already doing. I've used this analogy before. It's like two fleas on the back of an elephant taking credit for the direction that the elephant is going in. Kevin. One of the fleas is called Kevin. Kevin, look, we made it move. Cyril's like, yeah, look how powerful we are. Cyril and Kevin, the two fleas on the back of an elephant. We manifested that. It's all the post-it notes, isn't it, mate? The vision board. Look, we did it. We made the elephant move. We're so powerful. From now on, call me Sir Kevin, the mover of elephants. I am the great Sir Kevin, the mover of elephants, the flea that made the elephant move. This is life. Human beings, at the level of their identities, constantly taking credit for things that, have nothing to do with us. We're just so blessed, so supported, so guided. And so the key here, it's really good chai this morning, Dominic. Lime. So the key here is to recognize, okay, hang on a minute. I don't need to hold on to some illusion of an edge. I don't want to have an edge. I don't want to hold on to the pain that keeps me striving and performing at a rate that's unsustainable. I also don't need to have all of the answers. I just need to start paying attention. I just need to start paying attention. And what am I paying attention to? What's happening? And even though I may not understand it in the moment, eventually, down the road, it's going to make perfect sense to me why I was moved in the way that I was moved, why stuff was prepared at the property in the way that it was, why things happened in the way that they did. And after all, I don't even need to know the why, because all I can do is say thank you. All I can do is say thank you. And I can tell you that nothing that has ever tried to take you out in any way, shape, or form has ever succeeded. Because there is nothing against you. There's no power working against you. There's nothing out to harm you. And even if somebody who doesn't know that they're a divine being shows up in your life and tries to do so, it will never work. Never work, because you know who you are. You know your heart. You know why you're here. And so I can tell you, having walked through every single situation that doesn't make sense, that never made any sense, that I'm happy just being the flea on the back of an elephant, just allowing that elephant to take me for a ride. I'm just sitting there, doing whatever fleas do, just allowing the elephant to just move in whatever direction it wants to move in. The elephant's called Betty, by the way. And I'm just allowing this elephant to move in whatever direction she feels guided to move in, and I'm perfectly content. While all these other fleas are jumping up and down trying to take credit for the direction that the elephant is moving in, I'm just perfectly happy being myself. And allowing life to move, allowing myself to be moved, allowing synchronicities to show up, life to unfold. And also, the funny thing too is that we don't know it's a synchronicity until after the fact. Right? We don't know that it's synchronicity until after the fact. Like 5 months ago, I didn't know that I was preparing for now. When we moved from Naples, we hadn't had the storm surge yet. I had a feeling that that storm surge was coming, so I left. But I left about... What year was that hurricane? Naples, people? 2 years before, probably? So there's always guidance, there's always support. Your soul's in charge. In this case, just in case you're still confused, your soul is an elephant called Betty. Just in case anyone's still confused. And there is a movement of energy, a movement of life unfolding. So where people waste their time, constantly trying to control things, constantly trying to outthink, out-evaluate, outperform things, hedge for contingencies, we're blessed. We're blessed. And through some grace that we'll never be able to say thank you for, some blessing that some of us recognize, some of us never will, we always end up where we're supposed to be. Always. Now, the good thing about this elephant called Betty is that actually this elephant called Betty is taking you on the scenic tour that you signed up for. You didn't know that you signed up for it. But it's taking you through every life event, every circumstance, every situation that you have to go through, so that you can be who you are now and begin to get it. Wow. This isn't about me as an individual. This is about an infinite intelligence that is at work in my life, that is unfolding everything on my behalf. Respiration, circulation, digestion, keeps me alive while I'm sleeping. It's doing everything. And this is how a year before you have a storm surge event, where literally, like you've got news anchors on balconies with waves and waves of water like a tsunami crashing in off the Gulf of Mexico. This is how you find yourself in Nashville, Tennessee, and settled. Not having to deal with having 4 kids, a water intrusion, and everything else. And black mold that you can never remediate. Some people literally had sharks swimming in their living rooms. A couple of manatees were just very confused about how they ended up in someone's jacuzzi. So, you are always guided, always supported, always blessed in every way. And I get it. I get it. There's stuff that we have to go through. But the stuff that we have to go through is in preparation for something else. You've not been cast out. You've not been abandoned. Life and creation has not forsaken you. And when things do happen, they're not happening because you did something wrong. They're happening because these experiences prepare you in a way that nothing else ever could. And this is why we live in an experiential universe. That ultimately this whole thing called being human is just an experience. And that we're blessed enough to be able to enjoy the ride, or at least be at peace with it. No matter what that ride is. After a while, you settle into this infinite unfolding. You find a place of peace and empowerment within it. And you never leave it. You never leave it. Because after a while you have one piece of evidence after another that shows you that there's some grace at work. That there's some love at work. That there's some force at work. And even when you think you're not going to make it, and you're not going to be okay, somebody shows up, something happens, something unfolds. If I had to embrace one thing, I would embrace the soul, and I would do it quickly, I would forego every other immature and inconclusive thesis on life. And I would realize that as strong and mighty as the flea is, I would much rather be aligned with the elephant. Because that elephant called Betty is going to take me home. Sending all my love. Take some breaths, you beautiful humans. Leave me a 1 in the chat if you can see that, right? Like, even the stuff that you've gone through was preparation. Sometimes you literally have to have burst pipes and turn your meditation room into the Amazon rainforest to make sure that you drip those faucets so that that doesn't happen. There are no mistakes. There is no error. That's just a perfectly unfolding journey. And we're all a part of it. Laurel. Stop typing Om Shanti, elephant. Betty. Day 1645, or as I like to state it, day 1. Day 1. It's only ever day 1. Shall we? Close your eyes and open your palms, you beautiful human beings. And take some long, deep, cleansing breaths. Good morning, sweet friends, and welcome to another Call to Calm meditation. While everyone else is egoically worked up to a fare thee well, because on an egoic level they believe that they have to provide a solution and think of every contingency that life, or think of a contingency for everything that life is going to bring them, I'm grateful to say that there's an ever-increasing minority of human beings who recognize that there's some grace, some semblance of love, some higher power or force at work in their lives. And that even when they go through things, they're going through things and having the experience of those things to support them for who they're going to be in the future. So when life happens, and life is definitely happening, and it's going to continue to happen, it's not because your feng shui was off, or because you were born under the wrong astrological influence, or because you don't meditate enough or pray enough, or you haven't donated enough. When stuff happens, it happens because the only way that we get things as human beings is through experiencing them. And I can tell you, sitting here after 47 years of being alive, and I know it's not very long compared to some of the rest of you, there is definitely something greater at work. How we're moved, the people that we meet, how things unfold, the timing of things, the things we go through, and how the things we go through become preparation for a future event. How every single thing, no matter what it is actually serving a purpose. And every experience contributes to our ability to be empowered, to be self-sovereign, and to have agency over our life. And it's not that we have to control it anymore, because we've realized the futility of that. We're not engaging in some remedial form of thinking or trying to change it or having it be different. No, we've just surrendered to the fact that life is unfolding in the way that it is, and that is infinitely enlivening and powerful. It's not passive at all. When you relinquish the illusion of personal influence, you begin to discover a perfectly unfolding presence, a perfectly unfolding universal intelligence. And instead of seeking solutions, you appreciate the synchronicity. Things just seem to happen. People just seem to show up. Life just seems to work out. The wise among you don't take credit for it. Because you know that you never could have produced that even if you tried. Close your eyes, you beautiful human beings, and take some long, deep cleansing breaths. Resting in the awareness of your breath transforms your life into a living meditation. Seated where you are or laying down, observing your every inhalation and exhalation. Feeling the presence of grace, love, guidance, support, all around you. And acknowledging for the first time ever that you're not alone in any of it. The diagnosis, the label, the divorce, the fame, the success, the fortune. You're not alone in any of it. That there is, there always has been, and there always will be a grace, an intelligence, a guidance at work. Feeling all of the tension in your body just dissolving. The need to perform from a place of pain, the need to continue to create and produce in a way that's unsustainable, just falling away. The illusion of spiritual ego, identity, attainment, falling away. And instead, finding a place of tenderness, and compassion, and trust in your heart. Everything settling down. The illusion of mistakes falling away. Guilt or shame dissolving. Everything related to identity, controlling, making happen, being detoxified. The body breathing a sigh of relief. The nervous system grateful. The overactive mind entering a mode that you didn't even know it had. And from a place of absolute clarity, seeing that life through one experience after another has meticulously and diligently prepared you to be who you are now. And that everything that's happening now is just preparation for who you're going to be in the future. Continuing to breathe and relax. Feeling a profound connection to the soul. And a profound peace washing over you. Life is constantly in motion, and you are on a beautiful unicorn floaty, flowing with it. So much so that this peace, this calm, this egoic sobriety stays with you. Today, acknowledging that God is always with you. The divine is always advocating on behalf of you. And that love is moving you in ways that maybe you don't even understand and never will. Returning to harmony, feeling a sense of equanimity, and a wonderful connection to the truth that you never left. Continuing to rest in the awareness of your breath. Welcoming synchronicity. Welcoming the perfect unfolding of events and experiences. welcoming the grace. Enjoying the unicorn floaty. And the wonderful ride that life is taking you on. Take some breaths. And just notice how you feel, you beautiful humans. I'm grateful for everything that's happened in my life. Every single thing. I'm also grateful for the fact that I know that there is no getting off the unicorn floaty. That there is no making the elephant move, or taking credit for the fact that it did. That there's just something far greater than all of us that's advocating on behalf of all of us. And we can let it. Sending you all my love. Grateful for all of you. So as the ice melts, people begin to clean up the trees that weren't loved and weren't taken care of. And life moves on from here as it will. Ice-mageddon, snow-mageddon, tree-mageddon. I hope we take this experience as a wonderful opportunity to love on trees, to revisit our landscaping, and to take a look at what we're living for. Loved trees don't explode. They don't snap in half. They don't bend or break. They stand in the truth of themselves. And you, beloved, are a loved tree. A deeply and profoundly loved tree. All right. Well, today's Wednesday. We actually managed to do the YouTube meditation on the right day of the week. Thank God. Just a reminder that we're going to get together on Sunday, fundamentally reevaluate our relationship with ourselves. And we're going to begin to recognize that empowered living is totally possible. And that actually our state of being doesn't even have to be influenced, that the soul is not influenced by emotions or feelings or thoughts or beliefs, then actually nothing that's happening on the level of our humanity influences or in any way undermines who we are at the level of the soul. So sustainable embodied oneness, enlightenment, connection is entirely possible. And what makes it possible is your willingness to be human and to realize that being human is for a limited time only, and that the more it's accepted, the more you begin to recognize that it cannot get in the way of who you are at the level of your innermost being. Wishing you all a wonderful Wednesday. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell button, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. And today's word for all of you on YouTube is Betty. Betty the elephant. And to the two fleas on her back, for showing us how absolutely ridiculous it is to think that a flea could move an elephant. And showing us sometimes how ridiculous we are, that we think that we have to exert some power or control over our lives. Send you all a big hug from me. Take care, you beautiful humans. I love you all with all my heart. Live long and prosper. Share this far and wide. And have a wonderful Wednesday. Be well. Look, Kevin, we made it move. From now on, you have to call me... It's the post-it notes, the vision board, Kevin. From now on, you have to call me Sir Kevin, the mover of elephants. We did it. We made it move.